the teachings of Rabbi Rav Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Today we're going to talk about Were Yosef's brothers in denial, and what has it got to do with us in the year 2020? If you take a look at your sheets in front of you, the brothers come down to Egypt, and they think that the guy talking to them is King Tut. They don't realize that it's what? It's their brother Joseph, right? So pretty interesting. You take a look at the sheet in front of you, and Pasuk 33. See that? Pasuk 33 in the sheet in front of you. Vayeshu lefanav, they were seated before him. So Yosef, masquerading as King Tut, seats the brothers before him, right? They're sitting in front of him. And what does it say? He seats the firstborn, the oldest according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at each other in astonishment. How would Joseph know who's who? And Avram, no bells go off? No bells went off, right? It gets even stranger. Look at Rashi. See Rashi 33? I think it's underlined, no? He sat the firstborn according to his birthright. He struck the goblet. He had a silver goblet. Who? King Tut, alias Yosef. And he struck the goblet and he announced. What did he announce? Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Yisachar, and Zevulun, who are the children of the same mother. You be sit this way. In the order you were born. How would King Tut know which order they were born? Very strange, right? And so he did with all of them. Once he got to Binyamin, what did he say? This one has no mother, and I have no mother. Let him sit beside me. Wow. So what was he, clairvoyant, or who is this guy anyway? Standing in front of him, and they have no idea that he is their what? He is their brother Joseph, right in front of them, right? Some people say, Avram, don't confuse me with the facts, because my mind is what? Made up. Now, it gets even stranger. Look at the next page. I think it's verse 44. Is it you at verse 44? I think it's underlined in yellow, no? They drank with him. They drank with King Tut. I mean, they thought it's King Tut. And they became shikar. Isn't that strange? And why tell me about it? What was it, Purim, Avram? Was it Purim? So look at footnote 131 on the bottom of the page. You see that? The Gur Aryeh asks, who's the Gur Aryeh? The Maral. They were not yet aware that he was Yosef. Why then did they now drink and let themselves be shikar? So the Gur Aryeh answers what? They thought that he still suspected them. Remember, he called them, what did he call them? Spies. So he intended to intoxicate them in order to get the truth from them. Thus they agreed to drink so as not to arouse what? His suspicion. Okay? They drank because what? B'shenechnas yayin yotzeh sod. The Talmud says, what's the ultimate truth serum? Wine. So they purposely let themselves get shikar, Mindel, in order that we have nothing to hide. You want to give us truth serum? We'll prove to you that we are not spies, and therefore they allow themselves to get shikar, because when yayin goes in, the sod comes out. Yayin is gematria sod, no? Yayin, yud nun is how much? 70. And sod? Samach? 60. Vav? 6. And dalit? 70. Kawinki dinky? Right? Whoa. So, they didn't recognize that Yosef, they were in total denial. It's in your face. There's none so blind as he will not see. They think they're standing in front of King Tut. He tells them, I fear God. He tells them, I fear. This is King Tut talking to them. He tells them, I fear God. King Tut fears God and doesn't set off any alarm bells, and he knows their names and how old they are, and he seats them in the order of their birth, and he keeps mentioning God. What has King Tut got to do with God? What is the message? People can be in total denial. When they have the truth staring them in the face, they can't accept reality. Yosef, a king, impossible. It just can't be. When people are in denial, even when the truth is staring them in the face, they won't want to admit it. So the message of the Torah is, if the truth is facing you, don't cover it up. Admit it and do something about it. It's time to get out of Muncie and Jersey City and Borough Park and stop making excuses. Don't act with your head in the sand. And this idea goes so far. So the Pasha Miketz, the Torah keeps repeating that the brothers opened up their sack. The brothers opened up the sack. They loaded up the sack with grain and they opened up the sack. Again with the sack. Again with the sack. This is 3,700 years ago. And we know every word of the Torah, Charlie, is what? Is GPS for the year 2020. God's personal system. Why does the Torah keep repeating? They opened up their sack. They got to the Malone. They opened up the sack. Over and over again. They had their head in the sack. They were living in a bubble. They had their head in the... Joseph is right in front of them, speaking about God, knowing their ages, knowing their names, seating them in the order of their birth, and they have their head in the sack. So over and over again, the Torah says that what? Sako. One man said to the other, Sako. Merikim sakeyem b'sak. Over and over again. It says sakeyem, which means what? Their sack. Sako means what? His sack. The English word sack. Sako. The Torah is telling us that the brothers had their head in a sack. Like some Jews in America, Nebuch, or maybe in Europe, who don't want to see the truth. It's too painful. It's amazing how the Parsha of the week, Avram always speaks to what? Current events, what's going on? The Torah is saying, Lillian, take your head out of the sack and face the truth. It's time to come home. Leave Muncie and Jersey City. Leave your excuses. Get your head out of the bubble and face up to the truth. I think that's what the message of the Torah is. Otherwise, why tell me these events happened 3,700 years ago? And why keep telling me about it today? I think that is the message that the Torah is what is teaching us. That is the message the Torah is teaching us. Yesterday we read Pashas Vayechi. It's Shabbos Chazak. What does Shabbos Chazak mean? Strength. We finish one book and we go on to the other book. Vayechi Yaakov. Yaakov lived in the land of Mitzrayim. So Yaakov is sick and he calls Yosef and he begs him, please do not bury me where? In Mitzrayim. Why doesn't he want to be buried in Mitzrayim? So one reason Rashi gives is, at the end of time, there'll be Tchiyat HaMeitim. One of the Ani Mamins is, that we say every day, David, that the dead will be resurrected. But those dead in Muncie, or outside of Israel, in order to get resurrected, Rashi says they're going to have to roll B'tzar Gilgul Mechilot. In order to be resurrected, those buried outside of Israel are going to have to go through whatever that means, underground caverns, to be resurrected where? In Pisgat Zev. I mean in Ramot. I mean in Eretz Yisrael. So Yaakov didn't want to be dead longer than he has to. The resurrection will begin in Eretz Yisrael. And those Jews that are buried outside of Israel, they're going to have to come here somehow, or their DNA will have to come here in order to be resurrected. So that's one reason why Yaakov wanted to be buried in Eretz Yisrael. It's better to come here alive. Wanted, dead or alive. If you can't make it here alive, right? At least come, but it's better to come here alive. But Yaakov couldn't make it here alive, and so he begged Yosef to take him back to Eretz Yisrael. He shouldn't have to go through the Tsar Gilgul Mechilot. Why did the Jewish people have to be born where? In Cairo? Why couldn't they be born in Pisgat Zev? Or, I mean in Rechavia. Chanoch, he's asking a good question, David. The Jewish people had to be born, Dafka, in Mitzrayim. And once the nation was formed, only then were we able to what? come back up again. Why? It's cheaper. What'd you say? It's cheaper.
Look at the Taurus we had. Getting up. Getting up.
Avalama, Avraham. Ken Gzeira, but Madua Avalama.
The whole tribe was wiped out
Huh?
in the desert.
Why did the nation have to be formed dafke in Cairo? Avi Avos Hatuma. Cairo in those days made Las Vegas look like a kindergarten.
Really?
Yes. It is Lillian. So why? So Rav Sprecher brings a Zohar to explain why. His idea, I'll give you in my words, okay? Were you ever in West 47th Street, the Diamond Exchange? Did you ever go there?
Yes.
You were there?
Yeah, I worked.
How come diamonds are always displayed against a black background? Why is that?
Because they
Stand up.
sparkle.
Diamond bracelet, diamond engagement ring, it's always displayed against what? A black background. Why? Why? Black velvet background. Because what, Avraham? Why? Because in order to magnify the beauty of the sparkling diamond, you have to put it against a black background. If that's true in the physical world, Reb Moshe, it is what? Certainly true.
In the spiritual world.
The Jewish people are a diamond. But in order for us to shine and sparkle, we have to be displayed against what? The blackest background you can find. And what was that? Ancient Egypt. Yederegek Vaslavechi quoting a Zohar. The Jewish people have to realize, look who you are and look who they are. You think every home is your home? In order to appreciate our treasure, we have to be displayed, Daniel, against a black background. Have you buy your wife a diamond tennis bracelet, Daniel? It's displayed always against a velvet black. And the blacker the background, the more the diamond what? Sparkles. Isn't that amazing, Lillian? So that's Rav Sprecher's take on it, quoting a Zohar of why Dafke, Egypt was the blackest, most immoral, corrupt country. And there, Dafke, the Jewish people were created to demonstrate our brilliance against the black background. It cost us dearly. We were a memtesh shari tuma, but God figured it's worth the risk, David. God figured it's worth the risk. So Yosef, Yaakov feels that his end is near. He calls Yosef, and he tells them, he gives them a bracha. And then it says that Yaakov bowed arosh hamita. Yaakov bowed, he was in a sick bed. Yaakov bowed arosh hamita. Why did he bow arosh hamita? Says Rashi. From here we learned that the Shekhinah hovers above a sick bed. So who was Yaakov bowing to? The Shekhinah. Because the Shekhinah is found where? Barosh HaCholeh. So my Rebbe Rapam asked, where's the Shekhinah not found? And Moshe, what are you putting God in a box? I mean in a sick bed. Malay Choretz Kavod, the Navi says the whole universe is filled with God's glory. So why are you confining him to a sick bed? And where's the Shekhinah not found? Nothing could exist, no amoeba, no leaf on a tree, no worm could exist if the Shekhinah was not there actively giving it what? Chiyus. Right? So what does Rashi mean the Shekhinah is found only in a sick bed? So my Rebbe said, human nature is, when things are going well, you're living in San Diego, the sun is always shining, and your baseball team is always winning, and the stock market is always going up. You're going on cruises. Who has time to think about the Shekhinah? But lo yaleinu, when a person's in a sick bed, all of a sudden he remembers his best friend. Who's his best friend? Hashem. So that's human nature, says my Rebbe. That's what Rashi means. Never, when things are going swimmingly well, we don't have time to think about our best friend God. But lo yaleinu, when a person's in a sick bed, all of a sudden he remembers HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The lesson is, let's not wait for a sick bed. Let's realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our best friend. And when we ignore that relationship, God says, I'm your best friend. Remember me? So never, sometimes God has to send us a tough love message. So let's remember him when it's still tender love and not chas v'sholom what? Tough love. Powerful message that the Torah is what? Is teaching us in Parshas Vayechi. In Parshas Vayechi. And then the famous bracha, Hamalech hagoel oti, Hamalech hagoel oti mikora, Yivorech es haneyorim, Yikore behem shmi, B'shem avotai, Avraham v'Yitzchak v'Yidgoro b'kerev oretz. Don't worry, Avraham, won't give up my day job. Don't worry. Hamalach hagol oti. Yaakov blesses the grandchildren. The Malach that redeemed me, he shall bless the grandchildren. What's wrong with God? Why does he have to say the Malach? Moshe, isn't that strange? What? Why do you need to go to a messenger? Just cut to the boss. Why does he say Hamalach hagol oti? I asked my wife this question last night, and she gave me a wonderful answer. My wife, Tiana, I hope she's listening. Somewhere out there in cyberspace, thanks to Rabbi Yaakov, right? She said, the Mishnah says in Masechta Avot, chapter 4, Osa mitzvah achat, if you do one mitzvah, you create for yourself what? A malach. So my wife, Tiana, said, Yaakov is talking to the malach that he created. The malach that I created through a mitzvah, my mitzvah that I created, the malach, that positive energy should be a blessing for my grandchildren. And therefore he mentions the malach. Isn't that amazing? I like that, Avram. My better half said that. You hear? Otherwise it's strange why he mentions the malach and not HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the malach that's created. The Mishnah says every time we do a mitzvah, we create a malach. So that positive spiritual force that we created through a mitzvah, that itself, David, is a source of blessing. And therefore he mentions malach and doesn't say what? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Pretty interesting, right? He blesses the grandchildren, says, Vayevarchem bayoim hahu leimor. He blesses them on that day, he keeps repeating. Very strange pasuk. He blesses them on that day and he keeps repeating. And it doesn't say what the blessing is. So what does he blesses them on that day? Which day was it? Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. And what does Lamor got to do with it? He blessed them on that day and he keep repeating. What does it mean? The Torah doesn't tell me any stories. I don't know what day it was, and why should I care? So my Rebbe Rapam Zatzal said, you have to know where to put the commas. So Vayevarchem kama, bayoimahu lemor, he blessed them. Keep repeating to yourself that every day of your life is bayoimahu, bayoimahu. David, what does bayoimahu mean? What does that mean? Which day? Today and tomorrow. Every day. The greatest blessing a grandfather can give his kids, Daniel, is bless them. That lemor, you should keep repeating to yourself, today is Bayoim Hahu. Today is that special day. Why, Avram? Because today is the first day of the rest of your life. Could there be a greater bracha than that? What a bracha, Yaakov. But if you don't know where to put the commas, you're lost. So he blessed them, Bayoimahu Lamor. Kindalach, keep repeating to yourself, Lamor. Bayoimahu, every single day of your life is that Bayoimahu. People put away special food, special clothing for that special day. What are you saving it for? Every day is special. Right? Remember Hillel HaZaken? He would find the good food, he would what? No. Shammai would put it away for Shabbos. What would Hillel do? Eat it. Because every day is that special day. What are you saving it for? Today is the first day of the rest of your life. If we really lived like that, Shalom, I haven't got time for the pain. I wouldn't have time to be angry. I wouldn't have time to be resentful. I wouldn't have time to be jealous because what? Today is all I got. That phone call you want to make it. Why do you push it off? You're waiting for today. You want to make up with somebody. Today. What are you waiting for a special occasion? David, every day is a special occasion. That's what Yaakov Avinu taught us when he said, Bayoim ahu lemor, he blessed them that every single day of your life should be that special day. What a blessing. What a blessing. So it's very strange that the Jewish people were formed in this way. Family feud. Couldn't God figure out another way that the Jewish people were created? It's dafka through the kina and the sina and the hatred, Yosef and the brothers. What do you need the whole spiel for? Why couldn't God create the Jewish people in the gleich? How do you say gleich? Smooth. Why would all of these ins and outs? Why a family feud? And this is a dysfunctional, and that's the way the Jewish people were born. Rabbi Mod Muzar. So the Kabbalists teach God knew that the Jewish people are cantankerous and divisive and machlokis. But why are we still here 3,333 years later? We're not only here, we're thriving. We are the startup nation, the envy of the whole world. After all the machlokes and all the terrible civil wars that we have, we should have been long gone. We're still here. Why? Vaccine, says Kabbalah. God injected the vaccine of divisiveness and hatred and jealousy into the nucleus of the Jewish people. So throughout the centuries, we built up an immune system. God gave us a booster shot. The antibodies of our nation. So despite all of the machlokes and the divisiveness, and how many civil wars did we have? I mean, what we're doing to each other now is kid stuff. Look in the book of Shoftim what we did to each other. It's kid stuff today. Mamish Jew killing Jew by the thousands. But we're still here, and not only are we here, we are better than ever. That's because we have, Lillian, the vaccine of machlokus and divisiveness. And that's Kabbalah teaches that. That's our booster shot, the immunization, the vaccine that HaKadosh Baruch Hu injected into us with Joseph and the brothers, and through all the centuries, despite all of our machlokus and sin and kina, we have the vaccine, and therefore we're thriving. We're thriving better than ever. There never was as many people studying Torah today as ever. 94,000 people in MetLife, Daf Yomi. Isn't that incredible? 94. Where does it come from? Despite all of machlokis and divisiveness, where does it come from, Shalom? The vaccine. Yosef and the brothers, the Mechira, the Kina, the Sina. And there are more people studying Torah today than ever. And the Jewish people are leader in all fields, high-tech, low-tech. Israel just invented a machine where you can get moisture from the atmosphere. It's just unbelievable. So therefore, it had to be this way. Therefore, it had to be this way. And Yosef HaTzadik, he tells the brothers that what? You meant it evil, but God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He what? He meant it l'tova. He meant it l'tova. The Jewish people had to be built this way. You have your own cheshbon to deal with. You did a terrible sin. But it had to be this way. So this is the great mystery, how my free will and God's foreknowledge interact. How do I really have free will? If everything is predetermined by God, how do I really have free will? So the answer is, Rav Aryeh Kaplan Zatzal gave the great mashal. You ever play chess with the Grandmaster? You ever play chess with Bobby Fischer? No. So you play chess with a Grandmaster, you are moving independently. But the Grandmaster is controlling the game. So we act, we do what we do, right? We have our own cheshbonot, but meanwhile, the Grand Master of the universe, he's controlling the board, and he's controlling the game. We're still responsible, because we're moving independently. But God has His plan. And Yosef told them, you guys meant evil, but God meant it for good. And therefore what? It doesn't absolve them, But this had to be this way. There had to be, the Jewish people had to be born this way. They still have free choice, Chanoch. They didn't have to sell Brother Joe. So he would have been kidnapped by Hamas and wound up in Egypt. Joseph had to wind up in Egypt. Because if he didn't wind up in Egypt, the entire Middle East, including his family, would what? Starve to death. So he had to wind up in the Middle East, David. But if the brothers wouldn't have kidnapped him, Hamas would have kidnapped him. And he would have wound up in Egypt anyway. The brothers did it, they're responsible. But meanwhile, God's plan. It's amazing how everything is a plan. If Yosef wouldn't have said anything, if he wouldn't have bothered, what would have happened? Professor, he would have rotted in jail. The whole Middle East, including his family, would have perished in a famine. But because he showed concern for others, why are you having a bared hair day? Tell me about it. Maybe I could help you. 4 words that change world history. Why the long face? And because of that, Chava, they got the ball rolling, and the rest, as they say, is what?
History.
So what's the message? What's the message? One small act of chesed. Yidel by yidel, I mean little by little. Change the world for better, one small act of chesed at a time. Not big deal. 4 words, a friendly hello, a friendly smile can change the world. Who taught us that? Brother Joseph. And this idea goes so far, Yaakov on his deathbed blesses Yehuda. He says, "Uben shinayim mechalav," teeth whiter than milk. Yaakov Avinu on his deathbed is talking to Yehuda, the progenitor of Mashiach, and he's nothing better than to tell him teeth whiter than milk. Is he telling him to be a dentist? Is it a toothpaste commercial? What the heck is Yaakov talking about on his deathbed to Yehuda? Uleben shinayim echalav. So the Gemara in Ksubas, page 111, wonders about that. It's not a toothpaste commercial, Chanoch, no. Uleben shinayim echalav. What it means is, if you smile on a fellow human being, it's better than buying him a milkshake. I love milkshakes. But when someone gives me a smile, Yael, it's better than a milkshake. A milkshake is finished in a minute or 2. But if someone gives me a smile, that stays with me. The whole day, the whole week, maybe the whole month, maybe the whole year. Person's having a bad hair day. You give him a smile. You greet him. Maybe he'll get home, he won't yell at his wife and kids. Because someone gave him a shmeichel. That's more precious than a milkshake. So what has it got to do with Mashiach? Were Yosef Shevi ben Yehuda. He says, Yehuda, you're Mashiach. And then he says, a toothy smile is better than a milkshake. What has it got to do with Mashiach? Right before he makes him Mashiach. So my Rebbe said, if you want Mashiach to come, smile on your brother now. Who sang that? Smile on your brother. Charlie, remember that song?
Yeah.
If you smile on your brother instead of frowning, that's the way to bring Mashiach. And therefore, right after he makes Yehuda the progenitor of Mashiach, he says, "Uleben shinayim echalav," a toothy smile is more precious than what? Than a milkshake. That's the way to bring Mashiach. It's not a commercial for a dentist or toothpaste. What a message. And Yosef HaTzadik taught us that. He showed concern for somebody else. And that changed the course of world history. One kind word at a time, one smile at a time. That's the way to bring Mashiach. Powerful message that the Torah is teaching us. Yosef, at the end of the parsha, tells his brothers, I die, take my body out of Mitzrayim. Now usually, on a person's last will and testament, who does he call? His children. But here the Torah makes a point of telling me he doesn't call his children to give his last will and testament. He dafke calls his brothers. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. Why? And why tell me about it? Why not call his own sons to give them a last will and testament to take his body out? Why dafke his brothers? Rav Sprecher says something incredible. Joseph saw how the brothers were racked by shame and guilt. Every time he looked at them, they wanted to crawl into a hole. How they treated him and how he repaid them only with love and kindness. He felt their shame and pain, and he was so great, he called them before he died. He says, listen guys, there is a way how you can partially make it up to me. Do a chesed shel emes for me. When you and your kids leave Mitzrayim, take my body with you. So he dafke didn't speak to his sons. He wanted to give the merit to whom? His brothers. To relieve their shame and guilt. To do for him something he cannot do for himself. What is that? Take my body out of here and bring it back to Eretz Yisrael. So that's how Yosef was such a caring, loving brother. To relieve the brothers of their shame and guilt and humiliation, he gave them this opportunity, and he called them to his deathbed, not his sons, to give them the schus to take his body out. And this way they would partially repay the debt that they owed him. It gets even better. It gets even better. Who actually takes Joseph's body out? Moshe. Why dafke Moshe? Says Rav Sprecher. The Medrash says, who was the instigator that incited all the brothers against Joseph? Levi. Levi was the how do you say insider? Instigate. He's the one that incited hatred and jealousy of the brothers against Joseph. He was the ringleader, Levi. And yet, Yosef treated Levi with the same loving kindness of the other brothers, despite that he was the ringleader, and Yosef knew that. Whose depth of gratitude among the brothers was greatest? Levi. Levi was dead. So a grandson of Levi, he felt, I have to take brother Joe out. My grandfather's debt to brother Joe is the greatest. He was the ringleader that incited the other brothers to what? To hate Joseph and get rid of him. So therefore, I have to be mitakein the chet of my grandfather. So it's dafke Moshe Rabbeinu, Avram, who's a grandson of Levi, felt that he has to do it. Because his hakoras hatov was what? The greatest. And therefore goes dafke Moshe Rabbeinu. And this idea goes so far. God told the Jews, take the gold out of Mitzrayim. Moshe is also Jewish. What right did Moshe have to ignore God's command and go take the bones? Hashem said, Jewish people have to be busy taking the loot out of Mitzrayim. What right did Moshe have to ignore God's command? And as taking the loot, he took Yosef's bones. So Rav Sprecher answered, you see how far hakoras hatov goes. How do you say it in English?
Gratitude.
Expressing gratitude and appreciation. Moshe Rabbeinu felt that in order to rectify the sin of my grandfather Levi, I should ignore God's command, don't go for the gold, a Jew rejecting gold, right? But he took the bones instead, because hakoras hatov, said Rav Sprecher, trumps everything. Should I repeat that? Derech eretz kodma laTorah. Hakoras hatov, i.e. derech eretz menschlichkeit, trumps the Torah. And therefore Moshe Rabbeinu ignored God's command and what? Went for the bones to be rectified the debt that his grandfather Levi owes. And you see again Moshe Rabbeinu again. At the burning bush, Avram, this week's parsha. God tells him, go down to Egypt. Let my people go. Does he go? He doesn't go. God says, pronto, pack your bags, go to Egypt. No. He goes to Midian, and he says, please, Jethro, let me go. What are you asking Jethro for? God says, pack your bags and go to Cairo. What right do you have to go to Midian and ask Jethro for permission to go to Cairo? Says Rashi, Derech Eretz Kadma LaTorah again. He swore to Jethro that he would not leave without his rishus. Jethro saved his life. The KGB was looking for Moshe, the FBI in Egypt. Who took him in? Who protected him? Jethro. So therefore, he owed Jethro tremendous hakaras hatov. So even though God says, go down to Egypt, he could not go unless he went to Jethro to ask permission. That's how far hakarat hatov goes. In fact, the whole Jewish religion is based on the principle of hakarat hatov. Derech Eretz Kadma LaTorah. Menschlichkeit, expressing gratitude, appreciation, comes even before the Torah. That's the message that we learned from Moshe Rabbeinu. You had a question, I think.
Oh, yeah. How did the brothers transmit this command to take Joseph's bones out of Egypt to the future generations?
Read. It said he made them swear that you guys will give over this oath to your kids. He made the brothers swear. It didn't say he made his kids swear. Normally then he would call your kids. But he dafka called the brothers and made them swear that you give over this promise to your kids.
Because the brothers themselves didn't take
right, it was their kids, the grandkids. Right, but he called the brothers by making them swear and making them swear their grandchildren. This way, somehow, they're being mitakein a little bit, Moshe, the terrible misdeed they did to brother Joe. By doing this chesed shel emet. And Dafki didn't call his own sons. Dafki, the Torah says, Echov. And he made the Echov swear, not his own kids. That's how considerate he was. To relieve, what's the word, assuage their shame and guilt.
Maybe that's what happened to why Menashe and Ephraim aren't there. Maybe they died early.
What? Well, Shevet Ephraim left 30 years earlier, part of the tribe, right? They left before the time.
Rav Sprecher,
go ahead.
Can one person swear that his future generations will do a certain act?
Well, if the kids agree. You're good question. You cannot make your kids accept the oath, but it's kibbud av. How do you say that? If they want to. But if your father says, get me a drink of water, you have to listen. If your father says, take an oath, it's kibbud av. Right? Just like your father commands you to give me a glass of water, and you got to listen. The father says, take an oath. It's kibbud av. If you do not listen to your father, it's a terrible sin. Right, Avram? He said, make it.
We're bound by the Ten Commandments, because even though we weren't there personally, it's the same situation. You can be bound by an oath that you didn't personally agree to.
Yeah, but all the souls were there. Right. Chazal say that we all said Nasa v'nishma, not in body, then in soul. But you're right, you cannot impose an oath on somebody else. But it's part of kibbut av aim. Avram, if your father says, get me a sandwich. You say, no, Dad. You're mavatal mitzvah say kibbut av aim. So the same thing, your father says, take an oath. And you say, no, Dad. You transgress which mitzvah? Kabed zvicha esimecha, one of the 10 Commandments. So that's what he was pointing out. So bring up my bones, he said. Why does he call himself bones? Bring up my bones. They made him a mummy, right? They made Yosef a mummy, but Yosef made his daddy a mummy. Right? Yosef made, which is against the Jewish religion. But remember, the Torah wasn't given yet.
That's right.
The Torah would keep the 7, go to heaven. Right? The Torah was not given yet. But after the Torah was given, it is forbidden to what? To mummify the body. Because there's a pasuk in Koheles. There's an amazing verse in Koheles. How important it is to bury the body in a natural state. The end of the verse of Koheles says, Were Yosef ofel oretz keshahaya, only when the body is put back in the earth at the original state, Only then, Buruach Toshev Elohim Asher Nasana, only then can the spirit return to God who gave her. So this is only for Jews. There's no problem for a goy to make a mummy. And remember, before the Torah was given, Yaakov's family had a din like what? Noachites. So they had the 7 plus bris milah. So there was no issue to mummify. But after the Torah is given, Koheles tells us that for a Jewish person, in order for the neshama to return to God who gave her, the body must be put back in the earth in its natural state. And great tzaddikim would leave a will. They say, don't wait for anybody. As soon as he dies, he wants to be put in the ground. Because the neshama, Koheles tells us in the end, chapter 12 in the end, that only when the body is put in the earth in a natural state, only then can the soul return to God who gave her. So the greatest chesed you can do for a dead person is to bury him as quickly as possible. Because until then the neshama is disoriented. She cannot come back to Hashem until the body's put in the ground. So those people that delay a funeral, they think they're doing a mitzvah, they're doing a terrible anguish for the neshama. They don't realize that yet.
What about Nebuch, these Israeli soldiers that get kidnapped, they haven't been returned yet? They don't know where the bodies are.
So that's a good question. So the Rambam says that any Jew that's killed defending Am Yisrael, or because he's a Jew, he's called a kadosh. His neshama goes directly to heaven, doesn't need a grave. Any Jew that's killed because he's a Jew, like the 6 million, or Chayalim, the Rambam rules, they're called a kadosh. No matter what they did in life or didn't do, they get a one-way ticket to Olam Haba, and doesn't matter what happened to their body. That's separate. That's
Maimonides or
Maimonides rules like that. So any Jew that's killed because he's a Jew, which is the 6 million Kedoshim, or any Chayal, automatically goes straight to Gan Eden. There's no mishpat, and you don't need a burial. So rules the Rambam. In fact, the Talmidim would ask for Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, which grave of a tzaddik is the best to go to daven? They asked Shlomo, he was very Haredi. He said, go to Mount Herzl. But Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Haredi among Haredi. And this Hasidim asked the Rebbe, which is the most holiest grave to go to? He says, go take the bus to Mount, didn't have a train then. Take the bus to Mount Herzl. This is documented. Any grave of a Chayal is the holiest of any tzaddik. Because he died for Kiddush Hashem. The Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Zeichat Tzadik Abracha. What? Okay. That's right. Okay. I said that. They're all kadosh. Any person that's killed for being a Jew is called a kadosh. But the Shlomo Zalman said, go to Har Herzl. Right? Any Jew that gives his life for Kiddush Hashem is a kadosh. And there, the body does not need burial. The neshama gets a one-way ticket to Olam Haba, even without a mishpat. Any questions or comments? Yes?
I would like to know why Yosef, who was the youngest son of all the brothers, died first.
Oh, good question.
Benjamin was younger, wasn't he?
Yeah, Yosef, Ba'el es the Bam Kasha from Bamland. He was next to the youngest brother, and he died before the other brothers. So the Talmud tells us, because he heard the brothers say to him, Avdecha Avinu, Avdecha Avinu, Avdecha Avinu, 10 times. They said, your slave, our father. Your slave, our father. They're talking to Yosef. They think they're talking to King Tut. He heard 10 times. What did he hear 10 times, Moshe? Your slave, our father. He should have said, stop. Don't call your father my slave. He didn't. He heard it 10 times, and therefore 10 years of his life were what? Deducted. The other brothers died at 120, except Levi. All the other brothers died at 120. But he lost 10 years of his life because he heard the brothers call Yaakov, his father too, your slave. 10 times. He didn't protest, so therefore 10 years were deducted from his life. So be very careful to give honor to what? To our parents. And Kibbut Aveim is such a great mitzvah, it doesn't end with death. Every time you do a mitzvah, you give tzedakah, dedicate a shir, say kaddish, you're honoring your parents, what? In Olam Haba. You're honoring your parents in Olam Haba. It's the mitzvah that keeps on going and keeps on giving. And the Chai Adam says something amazing. He says, in a way, you can honor your parents in Olam Haba greater. You honor your parents in this world, you take them out to dinner, right? Or you take them out to Zalman's. But they get hungry after a while. Any honor, you visit them, the honor is only temporary, because this world is temporary. But when you honor them in Olam Haba by giving a shir in their memory, or tzedakah, or any mitzvah, the honor that they get is not temporary like a Chinese lunch. It's forever. So you have to know that. So every time you're doing a mitzvah, you have to know, Chanok, you're honoring your parents. By being here, I'm honoring my father and mother now. And Chaim Kanevsky said, you don't have to say. For other people you dedicate a shir, you have to say the name. But for parents, you don't have to say the name, he said. It's automatic. It's automatic. The parent-child relationship is not broken with death. So I'm honoring my parents now in a better way, even when they were alive. Because the hana is not temporary. It's what? Permanent. Because Olam Haba is permanent.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.